Excuse me.
We gotta get started.
Oh, right.
Mm-hmm.
It's that time.
It is.
Alrighty then. You know who it is. It's Zeus Cruz of Olympian Multimedia giving you another segment of Get Things Done. In this particular segment, as I was somewhat rudely interrupted, I wasn't. I love you guys. Anywho, if you notice here, I have the iPad in front of me. In this particular segment, we're just going to highlight for you guys some applications that you can use for you music lovers slash producers out there. Yes, we talked about it in a previous segment, discussing how to utilize your Chromebook to produce some music, how they have applications on there now that you can utilize, especially since now they kind of reformatted their OS to allow in for third-party vendors, plugins, input MIDI. Today we're going to be focusing on the iPad, which already had that ability already to synchronize and input MIDI and use third-party plugins. But with the applications that they have on there, their stock library is so massive, you probably wouldn't end up using any kind of third-party VSTs and such or plugins. You would just go ahead and utilize what apps they have on there, which are pretty much second to none. So this is just to kind of inform you guys out there who are you might already be producers yourselves or looking to get into it, that you don't necessarily have to have all the bulk equipment and have the actual studio layout, that you can actually go ahead and utilize something as simplistic as a tablet and use the apps on there to go ahead and compose and put together your musical projects. So one of the apps I wanted for you guys to check out, if you notice here on this icon, is called Synth One. And as you can see, the interface, this is supposed to emulate a synthesizer. And again, it's really easy to use. If you notice up top, you have the layout for the interface to allow you certain options to incorporate different effects, LFOs, different types of encoders. And then you could break it down into banks or tracks. It allows you here with your sliders to go ahead and formulate and do your mixing. If you notice here in the top track, or up here on the top of the interface, you get to pick essentially what you want to start off with, like different types of sounds. And they're pretty crisp is the sound, if I say so for myself, for being it's a synthesizer emulator. We're gonna go with this one, this Aerial Glow. Each key is coded, so if you notice, you can play out on the keys regularly. That has a sound as you're playing the keys, and then you could put it in whatever octave or whatever note measurement that you wanted to put it in. But they're encoded because you could simply just go down and you could essentially make a beat simply by doing a piano roll as you're going down the keys. And then if you want to break it down a little bit further, you can enhance the keys to make it a lot more bigger for you. You can set your tempos. Just like any other type of keyboard layout, you have your pitch. got your moderation. And then you come up here, and then if you notice, you got your encoders where you can break down even further. You want to add a little bit more texture. And as you're adding all these different textures by enhancing it through these different encoders, you could break down the filters, the cutoffs, the speed in which you want to moderate, the speed in which you want the pitch shifter to come into play, set the ranges as far as your high end and your low ends are concerned. You even have, for the LFO, you can set your spectrums on which you want it to be played. Which is pretty cool. As you can see, it's very intuitive. Once you start making your configurations and different changes as far as your textures and what you want to input, you can see, you can instantly hear the differences, right? When you're making these different sounds, which is pretty cool. So I definitely recommend this if you're looking for them nice punchy synth sounds within your production. You guys know I'm a sucker for them. So this is definitely an app that I utilize. Keep in mind, too, these apps that I'm showing you are really just meant for how we discussed in previous videos. It's just all about creating ideas for yourself, creating what you call, quote unquote, these templates, right? Just to get things started. You could definitely utilize this within your studio setup and whatever DAW that you're using. Go ahead and create these different types of loops or templates, and then input it into your overall production and then continue to add on to it. That's the beauty of music. You don't have to settle on just something that's just laid out in front of you. It's just all about adding different layers to it, right? To really bring your vision to life, right? In this case, your melody or whatever music production that you're aiming for. So then we get out of this one. We're going to show you the iMPC2. So these are for you guys out there that are really good with pads. This works in sync with an MPC. This also works in sync with MPC Studio if you happen to have that DAW as well. Again, if you have the right cables, you can plug an MPC from Akai onto your tablet and utilize the hardware to go ahead and put together your musical production, or you could just be on board with it and just use the interface as is. Great thing for me is, as you guys know, I've already said it numerous times before, I'm not great when it comes to the pads. I'm not great when it comes to the keys either. Shout out to my partner, Jaso, aka Alpha. He's definitely the king of that and the expert on that. His ability, just his range when it comes to just moving from different pads and just utilizing the whole keyboard at once to effectively play out the melody is uncanny. I usually only do a few at a time, but just a quick layout with this. Up here, you could change your kits. You got your onboard controls that you know, record, stop, and play, of course. You can even break it down to here as they have it down into sections or categories where you can actually tweak your pads and create different levels. You can input different filters onto each pad and it will already be synced and programmed. So there's no need of like stop and go, reprogramming or reconfiguring things. You can kind of just create your own presets essentially. Then you have your timeline in which you can just kind of, you have your grid set up and kind of just really break down your production more extensively. You have your onboard mixer where you can, again, essentially create like a soft mix, your highs, your mids, your lows. Increase the gain, so forth and so on. You have your meter bar up here to allow you to know the frequencies in which the beat is being played to make sure that everything's lined up. And then you could break it down even more into just tracks if you just didn't want to do it in a grid setting. And then you could essentially just create your songs through the pads. So you got different variety of different ways in which you want to put your production together on here. I'm usually just use this for the performing just to get myself a little bit better. Again, I'm just trying to work some different ideas as far as like some kind of like drum patterns. You can see you got like more controls in which you can create the note variations, your time corrects, you can mute your track. You can even mute certain pads if you're just going to utilize just a few and not all 16 pads that you have on the interface that's allotted for you. And then again, I usually just start off simple just to kind of get an understanding of how I want the drums to go. And I know you're looking at it like it's very basic and very simplistic in nature, but this is how I start. And usually if you start with a few pads and you start getting really an understanding of how to navigate them, and then you can work up your speed to the point where you can have, like my partner in crime, Jaso, where he's fluently just comes on here and just utilize all 16 pads to create like this very lush melody. But in turn, this is great to utilize an app like this because it just, again, not only are you getting practice as far as working the pads and getting your speed up, but again, you're creating this template. You're creating these little ideas in your head on how you would like the drums to go. But if you wanted to get more in depth, as I showed you on here, within the different categories down here on the interface itself, I mean, you can really lay out and do a full production within these apps. So it's all to your benefit on what you're trying to use it for. Create templates or create full productions. It has everything at your disposal. Then we click out of this, and the last thing I want to show you is called Blocs Wave. So with every Apple product, it automatically has GarageBand, if you're familiar with that. And GarageBand it's a very simple DAW for you to do some beat making. It's not meant to be that extensive as far as doing like the entire music production. It's just mainly meant for you to just make beats, and then from there you could take it on to another DAW and then do more extensive mixing and mastering to it, to complete your project. But if you do have GarageBand, they do offer this for free that you can download, and it's called Blocs Wave. And I thought it was pretty interesting, and it's pretty fun to utilize, again, for you to create ideas. And this is what the interface looks like. If you notice right here along this bar, these are basically banks in which you're going to be inputting different sounds. And then you have your play button here, volume. Up here you can set the tempo. Again, very intuitive, low overhead as far as it's not meant to wow you with a lot of different features and functions. Again, but it's nice to play with just to, generate ideas. So you can utilize just the discover part, and you can see how it already breaks down essentially, the main aspects of a beat, right? Or instrumental, right? You're going to be adding some drums. You're going to add some kind of melodics, maybe some vocals, maybe some effects, some form of percussion, a bass line, so forth and so on. So you can see the one bank is highlighted, right? So let's say we just wanted to start with drums. And you instantly clicks it, and it instantly generates an idea for you. But if you don't like it, you just press it again, and now you can switch it up. Sounds pretty cool, right? Really easy to use. So now it's like, okay, maybe I want to add some bass to this, add some kind of bass line to kind of draw the melody off of that. So now you're going to click on your second bank, and then let's click bass. And it's kind of a mix and match type of process. Again, it's just having fun. That's the great thing of just being a creative type. You don't have to necessarily go into something with an actual game plan and play, right? It's kind of like nice just to kind of just, as a producer, a music producer, to just go through different sounds and see what comes up, what sounds good, what's something that you can kind of build off of eventually, right? So now we added some bass. Again, you just move down the line to the next bank. Okay, now we want to add some melody, right? So let's check it out. Okay, I like that. Something with a little bounce to it, you know what I mean? And then again, you just go right down the line. What else could we add to this? We could add a little bit of something to it. Let's add some vocals to it. And then let's maybe add some effects to it. Ooh, that sounds nice right there. And basically, again, guys, would you consider this a complete beat? Of course not. But I have to admit, this is a pretty nice starting point for you to go ahead, take from here, utilize it the way you see fit, add some things. Obviously, you continue to hear the playback on it. Ideas should start formulating where you know and kind of can pinpoint where you can add some things, amplify some things. And then even here, let's say you like the overall aspect of this, but then there's certain parts you don't really care for too much, right? Maybe you don't care for the vocal too much, then you just go ahead and just hold this down, and you notice there's some options that come up, right? So you can just go ahead and delete. And there you go. The only unfortunate thing that I would say to this is the fact that you only have 8 blocks or 8 banks. I wish they would give you more, because then it would, like, you kind of could really, like, flesh out your instrumental or your beat even further. I think that would be a dope idea. Maybe down the road they'll have an update where they'll allow more banks. But still, though, it should allow you to create like a nice little idea that you could branch off of. Then if you want to go a little bit more in depth, right? Then they have an editing process where you can kind of like switch up the bandwidth, slice it. Again, if you want added features onto this, it is a paid prescription. As you can see here, it's not that much. It's $1.99. And it allows you to have the EQ plus all other different types of effects. Like their whole library would be open up to you. But if not, you could go to the browser, and if you notice here, it's pretty extensive what they have for you that you can utilize. That's pretty cool. And then as soon as you click on one, it breaks it down to you, the bass, the drums, the effects, the melodics. So if you wanted to, you can go ahead and literally delete. And then you can manually pick what you want. Right? So let's do... Then we're gonna add some bass to it. And then we add some melodics. Let's go back. See how you can just mix and match instantly, right? And then also too, depending on what you pick, if you notice up here, it will let you know in what chord is being played in what tempo. Right? So you can still manually change it on your own. See? It has the wheel allowing you to put it in what chord that you want to. You don't have to settle on what is already presetted based off what you input. But again, you have options with this. And again, it's just a fun way of just making music, right? Just to generate ideas. Sometimes when you're going into something, again, you don't have everything mapped out on exactly how you want your instrumental to go. Certain applications like these are great because they're fun to use, and you could kind of mix match and see what you could come up with, and hopefully it'll generate something in you, spark something in you. So that's about it, guys. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Just wanted to showcase some apps that you can utilize if you are a iPad user, that you can still go ahead and make some music, depending on if you want to do a full production set or you're just looking to just have some fun and generate some ideas. the range is there for you to utilize an iPad. So I appreciate you guys tuning in, jamming out with me for a little bit, for a few minutes. And that's about it. So the only thing left to say is get things done. Check you later.